First of all, I want to thank everyone for being here today to honor and glorify Yahweh on His set apart Shabbat. Today I'm going to be teaching about different things, but I'm going to be focusing mostly on the topic of integrity. There is a lack of integrity in the world, but especially in Christianity and in many other religions. A lot of pastors and religious leaders are experts deceiving people. I used to wonder why so many people in Christianity are people with lack of integrity. They are always doing things to look good in front of people, but they do not keep their words. Once you start getting to know the leaders of the churches, you don't need to wonder anymore. Like, that's what happened to me. I didn't have to wonder anymore why the people was like that. Their leaders are exactly the same way. We had experienced this so many times in our life with so many people, especially when we were assisting to churches, and we all were going to churches before. So I'm pretty sure you all also experienced the same thing. And I would like for anyone to be able to explain to me, who will ever care to follow and trust Yahweh if the people who are supposedly His representatives here on earth are so dishonest and deceitful? No one will ever care. When you are a person who lacks integrity and honesty, you are misrepresenting Yahweh. That is definitely not characteristics from Yahweh. The scripture says in the book of Yahushua, or the book of John, that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Yahweh, and the Word was Yahweh, and the Word became flesh. So if we want to be like Him, we better start being truthful to our words, and we better start being careful about what we say, because our words have to become our flesh. And I would like for all of you guys to go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 9. People with integrity walk safely, but those who follow crooked path will be exposed. If we are honest and straightforward, we will avoid trouble and we will gain trust from others. However, if we choose to be dishonest and deceitful, our wrongdoings will eventually be revealed. And it will lead to so many problems and bad consequences for us and for many other people as well. Integrity helps us to stay on a steady path, while dishonesty can lead us to get caught and having to face bad results because of our wickedness. And this passage is one of the many passages that once I received Yahweh and His wisdom, I was able to look back to who I was in the past, and the first thing that always comes to my mind is what a horrible life I used to live. And I always follow with the thought of praise Yahweh for saving me from the miserable life that I used to live. Because I was exactly the same kind of person that I was describing earlier with Christianity. I was a person who will say any kind of lie, and I will say anything to look good in front of people, and whatever will get me out of the situation, regardless of who was getting hurt or affected by my lies. And this was something that I struggled with for many years. And I also, when I was doing that, I really thought that I was benefiting from it. And that is what the enemy makes us think when he tempts us. When he tempted Adam and Eve, he made them think that they will benefit from committing sin. So that's why many people do that. I remember that I would promise and I would say things like I will be there, like I would promise to people that I would do something or that I would be somewhere, and at the last minute I would just cancel or simply just not show up. And I even remember the dumb excuses I used to say, the dumb excuses I used to give to people. And one of those excuses was that I was a very busy person and that they would understand why I didn't show up or why I just canceled at the last moment. And that is just foolishness. First of all, that was never the reason for the lack of integrity. But I lied so much that I even started to believe my own lies. I remember that if people were upset because I didn't show up, because I didn't keep my word, I would get upset at them for not being considerate of me. When in reality, a lot of time I will make commitment with people that I already have made up my mind that I will not keep. I will not keep those promises. I will say things like, yes, I will call you tomorrow, or I will be there. And once I turn my back, I will say in my head, like, yeah, right. Just sit comfortable, because you just have to wait for a long time because I will not show up. And then I will get upset at them when they question my lack of integrity. And that is just wickedness and manipulation as well, because obviously turning the tables and pointing fingers at them when it's obviously my fault is just a way of manipulating people. And those are just a few examples of all the things I was doing that were a result of my lack of integrity. But the thing is that, like the passage says, those who follow crooked path will be exposed. It was just a matter of time for my lies to be exposed. There are many problems with liars, but one of the problems is that a liar needs to have a perfect memory. And no one has perfect memory. So I had to remember every single lie I said, and I had to remember what I said and to whom I said it. Because that was another thing. I was so deceitful and so dishonest, and I'm sure that some of you guys were the same way, that you will say a lie about something to someone, and then you will say a different lie about the same topic to someone else, and then you don't even remember who you say what. Like you're just in a big mess afterwards. So at the end of the day, it was so stressful just to be able to remember what I said and to who I said it, instead of being honest and have integrity. So my life was a complete lie. And the enemy knows how to lure people to do evil. He lies to people and he made them think that they will benefit from doing evil things. And that is one of the reasons why a lot of people lie while doing business. They lie in their relationships. They lie to their boss. They lie at work, in their career, and many other aspects of life. And they think that by lying, they will receive more benefits than if they are truthful about who they are. And for someone to think that, I hope that it is because they have been deceived. And that can be changed very easily. But if not, that means that they are wicked human beings. Because if anyone thinks that they are going to benefit more from lying than from being honest about who they are, it's because who they are is not in alignment to Yahweh and His Word. And that is something very important, because not being who Yahweh created us to be will make us feel like we should never open up about who we really are. When in reality, that is not who we are created to be. We were never created to be a liar. We were never created to be a bad person. But some of us have believed the lies of the devil that says that you are not smart enough, or that you are not healthy enough, that you are not proficient enough, that you are not wise enough, or experienced enough, or patient enough, or wealthy enough, or successful enough, and many other things. And as long as we believe those lies, we will be living in those lies forever. as long as we believe those lies, that is exactly the reality that we are going to be living in. Because our decisions in life will come from our thoughts, and our thoughts will come from our beliefs. So if you believe that you are not smart enough, you will always take decisions and act exactly like someone who is not smart enough. You will struggle with critical thinking, you will struggle with problem solving, and with making informed decisions. You will also have so many difficulties learning from your own mistakes, which seems to be a very common thing for most people nowadays. And you will also have difficulties understanding even simple concepts or adapting to new situations. Instead of being a person who is able to learn new things, solve problems effectively, think critically, learn quickly, adapt to new information or situation. But that only comes if you believe that you are a smart person. But if you believe the lies of the devil, you won't be able to reach that part in your life. It's the same thing if you believe that you are not healthy enough. If you're not healthy enough, and that's what you believe, you will always eat things that unhealthy people eat. You will eat out at restaurants and fast foods. You will eat unhealthy amount of foods. And you will do the same amount of exercise that an unhealthy person does, which is none. Instead of seeing yourself as a healthy person and eat clean, healthy foods, exercise as much as possible, which is what a healthy person does. It's the same thing. If you believe that you are not proficient enough, you will always do a sloppy and a mediocre job at everything you do. You will always think that you are not the right person to help people with their problems. Instead of thinking of yourself as someone who is proficient and effectively utilizes deep understanding and skills in practical situations, instead of seeing yourself as someone who can identify issues and find solutions, instead of looking at yourself as someone that can continually improve your skills and knowledge, if you don't see yourself as someone who is proficient, you will never be able to do that. So it's the same thing. I wanna keep going with this, because if you see yourself as someone who is not wise enough, you will always make poor decisions with lack of common sense, lack of sound judgment, and even not being able to consider long-term consequences. If you see yourself as someone with lack of wisdom, you will have lack of insight, which will obviously lead to make decisions outside of Yahweh's time, which will result in different outcomes to what Yahweh wants for your life and for those around you. You will fail to learn from past experiences, and you won't be able to also receive knowledge from other people who have been going through situations similar to you, that you can learn from them. But if you consider yourself as someone who is not wise, you cannot learn. The other thing is that if you consider yourself as someone who is not wise, you will also allow your emotions and your feelings to drive your decisions, rather than using true knowledge, true understanding, true wisdom. So if you see yourself as someone who is not wise, you will always have to learn in the most painful ways from situations that will affect you, and that will also affect the people that you love the most. Instead of seeing yourself as someone who is wise, when you look at yourself as someone who is wise, who makes great and righteous decisions and acts accordingly, using insight, using knowledge, understanding, good judgment, common sense, seeing yourself as someone that considers long-term consequences, and as someone that can learn from past experiences and also receive advice from others. If you see yourself as someone who is not wealthy enough, in this case, if you see yourself as someone who is not wealthy enough, you will struggle a lot with lack of detailed financial planning or budgeting, which will lead you to less effective management of your resources. You will have lower income, you will have less stable income or sources of income. You will have fewer opportunities to grow. If you see yourself as someone who is not wealthy, you will always have debt. Like, you will get out of debt and you will come back to having debt again. You get out of debt, go back again to it, because you see yourself as a person who is not wealthy and as someone who will always be in debt. And that's why you have those habits. You see yourself as someone who cannot become more in life to be able to do more in life, to be able to afford every single thing instead of having to borrow money for every single thing that you need to buy. You will not only be in debt and a slave to the lender if you have that mentality, but you will also allow the people around you who you should be stewarding over to get in debt and to practice the same kind of behaviors, the same bad habits that you have been practicing your entire life. You will also lack great networks or connections that will help you to move forward in life. And all of these things together will lead you to having fewer opportunities or resources to invest in wealth building assets, not because you cannot have access to those things, but because you are a bad steward over the resources you currently have. But in the other hand, if we see ourselves as someone who is wealthy, a person who does not borrow money no matter what, and as someone who never encourages their loved ones to do so, someone who is beyond blessed to be a blessing to others. If we see ourselves as a person who gives generously, a person who pays for things according to our creativity, not according to our time or our lives, which is the same. If we see ourselves as someone who serves people by solving their problems, as someone who does not spend most of our money on things that will not increase in value, as someone who lives below their means, as someone who surrounds themselves with people who are walking in alignment to Yahweh's will, that people that can help us grow and people that we can help to grow as well. So that was for when we see ourselves as wealthy or a person that is not wealthy enough, believing the lies of the devil. But now, if you see yourself as someone who lacks integrity, you will tell lies or you will distort the truth, which is the same. You will be unreliable. You will be often breaking promises or failing to follow through with your commitments. You will be a manipulator. You're going to use deceitful tactics to influence others for your personal gain, which is exactly what I was explaining earlier that I was always doing before. You will be acting in a way that is inconsistent with Yahweh's values, with Yahweh's principles, with His will, and with His laws. You will always be avoiding taking responsibilities for your own actions and your own mistakes. If you see yourself as someone with lack of integrity, you're going to be self-centered, pretty much a selfish person, always prioritizing your own interests over the well-being of others and also over the will of Yahweh. And you will build a reputation as someone who is untrustworthy. And you will be unstable in all your ways, and you will follow any standards to fit the situation rather than yielding to Yahweh's word and his standards. And you will try to get away with breaking the law, breaking the rules, lying to people, deceiving them, and many other wicked things as you see fit for your personal gains. You will be a person who says something when others are around and act in a righteous way when people are around you, but in the secret, you will be a liar, you will be a fornicator, an adulterer, a deceiver, you will watch porn, and many other wicked things. That is what someone that lacks integrity or with that mentality will do. But instead, what we can do is simply be a person with integrity who believes and follows Yahweh's word. And we have to be that person in front of people and in secret when no one can see us. People make it very complicated, but it is very simple. I'm not saying that it is very easy, but I'm saying that it is very simple. The more complicated you want to make it, the more difficult you are making it for yourself to be able to become the person you were created to be. You will make it more complicated for you to do the things that you were created to do. And you are making it more complicated for yourself to receive the blessings that Yahweh wants you to receive. Having integrity will help us in such a way that we have never experienced before if you are a person that lacks integrity. If you guys want to go to the book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 1, I want to read a passage from there. Better to be poor and honest than to be dishonest and a fool. So integrity is a different kind of wealth. If we want to be blessed by Yahweh, we need to be people with integrity. We need to live our life on integrity all the time. Having integrity is more valuable than riches. So it is better to be poor and honest and a person with integrity than to be rich and dishonest, which is a fool. True success comes from fulfilling your purpose in life and living a life of honesty and integrity. Even if it means having less material possession, it doesn't matter. I want to read another passage from Proverbs chapter 12, verse 22. Proverbs 12, verse 22. In Proverbs 12:22 says, Yahweh detests lying lips, but he delights in those who tell the truth. This passage is so powerful. It's telling us that Yahweh really dislikes and he hates lying lips, but that he is very pleased when we tell the truth. Being honest and having integrity is important because it reflects our respect for Yahweh. It brings honor and glory to him, and it helps us to build trust with other people. It helps us to represent him in the right way. If we say that we are his representatives here on earth, we need to be truthful. We need to be people with integrity. When we choose to be truthful, we are aligning ourselves with who Yahweh created us to be. And then we can start doing the things that he created us to do. And then we can have all the blessings he wants us to have. All of the things that we teach here is to make sure that I help all of you guys to understand that you need to become, to be able to do, to be able to have. And that is in alignment to all the scriptures. No matter where you read, you're going to find that. That's why I'm so consistent with the message about becoming, doing, and having. I want to read another passage also from Proverbs, in Proverbs 20, verse 7. The righteous walk with integrity. Blessed are their children who follow them. When we live with integrity, we set a strong example for other people. The likeness and image of Yahweh that is in us is not only going to bless us, but also positively influence those who are around us. When we walk in integrity, that likeness and that image of Yahweh is reflect to everyone. And we obviously gonna be benefit from that, but we're gonna influence so many people in a positive way. And that will affect especially our children. Those who have kids, if you are a person with integrity who does the right things, the things that Yahweh wants us to do, whether you are in front of people or you are in the secret, no one can see you, that is a powerful thing. If the examples that we give our children are full of wickedness and foolishness, we are definitely setting them up for failure. But when we live in alignment to Yahweh's word, then the children can follow their parents, who are an example of living truthfully and with integrity. And the children will be truly blessed. So we need to be very careful with the things that we do. We need to be very mindful. We need to be people with integrity who always walk in alignment to the word of Yahweh, whether we are in front of people or if we are in the secret. If we are struggling in any way, we need to be open about it with others so we can find help. So if there is any struggle among us, among the people of this group or those who are watching in YouTube, we need to open up about it so a group of people can pray effectively and help you to get out of that situation. Remember that there are people around us looking at us all the time, and we are telling people that we are the representatives, that we are the image and the likeness of Yahweh. And if our actions are actions of lawlessness, we are literally setting up a bad representation of who Yahweh is. And no one will ever care to follow the Elohim of order that we proclaim if we are representing him in the wrong way. So I hope this message bless you guys.